Shalom Aleichem, everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Hanukkah. And I wanted to share with you a very short idea, very short word that is very much appropriate for the Friday night of Hanukkah, an idea that some of you might have heard from me before, but it's one of my favorite ideas, and I'd like to share with you. It's based on a Gomorrah in Maseches Shabbos and Daf Chav Gimel Beis. And here the Gomorrah has a very interesting question. We're talking about a person who's very, very poor and can only afford one candle, and it's Friday night of Hanukkah. So what is he supposed to do? Should he spend that money that he has for that one candle on a Ner Shabbos, or should he spend it on a Ner Hanukkah? So the Gemara suggests on the one hand, Ner Hanukkah has the advantage of Pirsumei Nisa. On the other hand, the Gemara suggests Shabbos, Ner Shabbos is really there for Shalom Bias. So the Gemara says, Amar Rava Pshitali. It is obvious to me. If it's one or the other, if it's a Ner Hanukkah or a Ner Shabbos, Pshitali. It's obvious, Ner Beso, V'Ner Hanukkah. One or the other, Ner Beso Adif. Better to have a Ner Shabbos than a Ner Hanukkah. Why? Mishum Shalom Bias. Because of Shalom Bias, there's a priority to have a Ner Shabbos over a Ner Hanukkah. If you look at the last Rambam in Hilchos Chanukah, he records this and starts to laud the importance of Shalom Bias. Okay, one can take that Gemara as a very simple face value Gemara. In fact, it is important for halacha because all the Rishonim on this Gemara then point out, what if you do have enough money for both Ner Shabbos and Ner Hanukkah? Which one do you like first? Do you like the Ner Shabbos first because here the Gemara is prioritizing the Ner Shabbos over the Ner Hanukkah, or should you light the Ner Hanukkah first? A major discussion whether when you light your Shabbos candle, that's called already a Kabbalah Shabbos, and if you can't light your Ner Hanukkah afterwards, or perhaps that's not the case, a big discussion in the Rishonim on this Gemara. We, of course, light, if we're lighting both, we light our Ner Hanukkah and then our Ner Shabbos because the Ner Shabbos is considered to be a Kabbalah of Shabbos. But here the Gemara is addressing one or the other. Either a Ner Shabbos or a Ner Hanukkah, says the Gemara, Ner Shabbos Adif Mishum Shalom Bias. So I once heard from Rabbi Lamb a following, perhaps drush, but important explanation of this Gemara on a deeper level. You see, we have these two candles, these two paradigmatic candles. And the Ner Hanukkah, that projects out to the street. That's meant for the public eye. That's meant to be mafars in the nays to the world outside. And Ner Shabbos, in contrast, is fundamentally different. That's meant for the house. You can't use the same candle for both Ner Shabbos and Ner Hanukkah. They play very, very different roles. The Ner Hanukkah is aser leishtamish bahen. It's meant to project or to the street. The Ner Shabbos, you have to get hana'ah from. It's meant to illuminate, create warmth and light in the household. Two different roles that these neros play, and perhaps on a metaphorical level, they really represent the two focal points of human beings. We often have a very critical public role that we have in life. We're involved in the community, we're involved with our families, we're involved in work, we're involved in a lot of activities outside of the house which are critically important. That's, if you will, the Ner Hanukkah aspect of our lives, the Pirsumei Nisa, projecting our energies to the street, to the communities, to the chesed that we do, to the world outside. And then we have a private domain that's inside the house, and that's the Ner Shabbos, the work that we do, building our families, with our spouses, with our children, the work that is inside the house, the Shalom Bias work. And in the ideal world, we have enough money, we have enough time, we have enough energy to do both. To go ahead and project to the community, to do the chasadim, to be out there in the public domain, doing all those good works, and of course taking care of the bias, taking care of all the needs of the house, the home, the children, our spouses, and we have time for everything. But there will always be times, and as a mechanech I can tell you it happens much more often than perhaps I would even like. We always have those times of clash, where we can't do it all. We're limited in our time, in our mental space, in our energies. We can do one or the other. It's going to be a choice of the Pirsumei Nisa, of Ner Hanukkah, of what we do for the community, the chesed, outside of our house, or the Shalom Bias, the work that we have inside the house, and building our relationships, our mishpacha, our children, etc. Ideally, we do it all, but there'll be those times where we can't. It's going to be one or the other. The Gemara tells us a very profound and important comment. In those times of clash, where the projection outside is going to clash with the Shalom Bias inside, so Shalom Bias Adif, we always have to prioritize, and our strength comes from the strength of our homes, from the strength of our families. That's what's going to give us the ability to give to the outside world. If everything is secure, comfortable, loving, taken care of in the bias, there's that sense of Shalom Bias, that security, that peacefulness in the house, then we can do so much more outside. When things are off in the house, when there's a sense of dissonance, there's a sense of imbalance, where things are not working so good at home, then all of a sudden, we're not going to be able to accomplish the Pursuing Nisa outside. So sure, ideally, we have it all and we can do it all. But there'll be those times, push comes to shove, something has to give. And the Gemara tells us very, very fundamentally, Shalom Bias, Adif. You first take care of that which is inside the house. I often remark to young Chassanim that this is perhaps a dichotomy that we find at the wedding itself. Because at the wedding, we go, the Chassan and Kala stand under the chuppah. And the chuppah represents the home of the Chassan. And he's bringing his Kala into his home. But notice that home is a very interesting home. It's a home that is very reminiscent of the home of Avraham Avinu. It's open on all sides. And the Chassan and Kala can look out, and the whole world can look in. It is a very, very public type of home. A very public display, where the simcha of the Chassan and Kala are being shared with everyone around them. And that's how things get kicked off. But I don't think that's the climax of the wedding. The climax of the Nisuin Kiddushin process is immediately after that very public chuppah, where the Chassan and Kala then go by themselves and retreat into Yichud. When they shut everyone else out, and they're there by themselves building that sense of Shalom Bias. The wedding itself is the paradigm of what married life is really all about, this balance between the public sphere and the private domain. And perhaps, again, we start off in one venue, but we move right away into Yichud, that yin-yang, that balance. But the Gemara tells a very, very profound message. And that is, when there is that tension, when there is that clash, Shalom Bias Adif, something to always keep in mind. Because Hashem should bless us all, that we have the energy, we have the finances, we have the space to really accomplish everything. But in those times, we just can't. Never, ever, ever sacrifice that sense of Shalom Bias. That has to be the priority. Because if everything is smooth and running well in the home, then everything else will start to take care of itself. So I wish everyone the bracha, that they should have a tremendous, tremendous Freilich in Hanukkah, a lichtig in Hanukkah, and a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos, and a life that is full of Mirz Hashem, Pursuing Nisa, and a tremendous sense of Shalom Bias.